Hello everyone, so I will be doing my November wrap-up. For the month of November, I read 4 books, so let's get started. The first book I read was Capturing the Devil by Kerri Maniscalco. This continues the adventures of Audrey Rose Wadsworth and Thomas Cresswell. This time they are at Chicago's World Fair and they find themselves facing the serial killer H.H. Holmes. I was most excited about reading this book. I recently read Devil in the White City, where they explain everything about the World's Fair and H.H. Holmes, and I find this stuff H.H. Holmes so fascinating, and so I was so excited to see how she would put this in this series. However, I was so disappointed in this book. I thought the first 200 pages were pointless. It was all about Audrey and Thomas's relationship and drama. I don't mind their relationship per se, because in the first 2, their relationship was very cute. They would be flirting, and he supported her so much, and it was rare because in this time women weren't allowed to do anything, and so I really liked that. But the main focus wasn't romance. But in the third one, the romance was more involved. There was a love triangle, which I didn't like. But this one, they dedicated half the book to romance. It took half the book for them to finally go to Chicago. Like, I thought the whole point was about her going and facing H.H. Holmes, but no. First half was romance, and I didn't like that. But if you like romance and you liked their romance, then you probably will like this. I just liked it being in the background and not the main focus. The second book I read was The Cabin at the End of the World by Paul Tremblay. This is a horror thriller novel about a couple, Andrew and Eric, who are vacationing at a cabin by the lake with their 7-year-old daughter, Wren. When Wren is outside playing, a stranger comes and talks with her. And at first she thought the stranger was very nice, but then more strangers came and she quickly saw that this wasn't good, and she ran inside, locked the doors, and called her fathers. And these strangers were all carrying weapons, but they all assured them that they're not here to hurt them, they just want to talk. And they need their help to save the world. I gave this a 3-star rating because in the beginning I thought it was great. It really sucked me in, and I thought it posed a great dilemma. And it made me question what I would do if I was in a situation like this. And I really liked that there was a gay couple, especially in a book that wasn't about that. However, towards the end it just kind of fell flat. I was not as hooked anymore. And so that I gave it a 3-star rating because it was okay, but there was nothing really special because the ending didn't do anything for me. The third book I read was Dr. Sleep by Stephen King. This is a horror novel, and it is the continuation of the life of Danny Torrance. In the beginning, they do tell you what happens after the events that took place in The Shining, but mainly it is about Danny as an adult. He goes by Dan now, and he is a recovering alcoholic, and he lives in a small town in New Hampshire where he works at a nursing home, and he uses his gift, his shine, to help those who are dying. Dan meets Abra Stone, who is a 12-year-old girl who is just like Dan but more powerful. And Abra tells Dan that there are these group of people known as the True Knots, and they are killing children and living off their steam, which is what the children with The Shining produce. And so they're able to live a very long time because of this steam. And so now Dan has to help Abra survive and not get killed by the True Knots. I really liked this book. I am so glad we were able to find out what happens to Dan and his mom and everything that happened in his childhood after the events in The Shining. It has a mix of the nostalgia of The Shining, but also creating a whole new story. In the beginning, past the part we learned about after The Shining, was hard for me to get into, but once I did, I was hooked, especially towards the end. This is a long book, but you just get so into it and you can't put it down, and it doesn't seem like a long book at all. So if you did love The Shining, then I do recommend this book. It isn't like a sequel to The Shining. There are parts about The Shining in this, but it's just a continuation of Dan Torrance's life. So if you find that interesting, then I definitely recommend this book. And the last book I read in November was The Unbound by Victoria Schwab. This is the sequel to The Archived. Mackenzie is a keeper, and her job is to stop violent histories, which are the dead, from escaping the archive, which is this vast realm where the dead rest. And from the last novel, Mackenzie is plagued by the past, and she keeps having terrible nightmares that involve this, and she can't sleep, and strange things start to occur, and she starts wondering if they are just nightmares. And soon people are vanishing, and the one thing that they all have in common is her. So she has to discover what is going on, and she starts to distrust the archive, and the archive starts to distrust her, and so she has to figure out what is going on, because she could be kicked out from being a keeper, which means all her memories from that time will be wiped. I thought it was an okay book. A lot of it has to do with her personal life, and she's a teenager and she starts a new school, so there's high school drama, and every guy she meets flirts with her and kind of have this liking to her, which is very annoying, because there is this one guy, you know that they're going to get together, but you always have these other guys liking her, and it's kind of always drama. But the parts where it has to do with her being a keeper and the archives and all that, the world that they created within the archive, I enjoy so much. I just wish there wasn't all this teen drama, which I guess is expected because this is a young adult book. I just find it ruined by all that. She had a great story outside the teen drama. So if you're not bothered by all that stuff, then I recommend this book, because the world of the keeper and the archive and the histories is very interesting. So those are all the books I read in the month of November. Like and subscribe, and I'll see y'all later. Bye!